Chosen ones, stop and listen. God has been trying to reach you all week, and his voice is calling you now with a message that will shake your soul awake. This isn't just another moment in your day. It's a divine appointment, a sacred pause where heaven itself is speaking directly to your heart. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet nudge, that whisper in your spirit, that unexplainable pull telling you something bigger is unfolding. God has been leaving signs all around you through dreams, through moments of clarity, through the smallest details of your life. Right now, he's asking you to open your heart, to hear his truth, and to step into the purpose he's been preparing you for. This week, you've walked through moments that tested your strength. Maybe it was a sleepless night where worries piled high, or a conversation that left you questioning your path. Perhaps it was a door that slammed shut, or a fleeting moment of hope that felt too good to be true. Those weren't accidents. Every challenge, every spark of light, every tear you shed was part of God's way of getting your attention. He's been weaving a story in your life, one that's leading you to a breakthrough so powerful it will redefine everything you thought you knew. Your struggles aren't here to break you, they're here to build you into the chosen one you were always meant to be. Pause for a moment. Think about the patterns you've noticed this week. That song on the radio that spoke directly to your pain. That stranger's kind word that hit you deeper than they could have known. That dream where you woke up feeling something bigger was at play. God doesn't shout. He whispers in ways that only those who are listening can hear. And you, chosen one, are hearing him now because your spirit is ready. You're not here by chance. You're here because God has a message that's meant to shift your life forever. So, let's mark this moment. Type 777 inches the comments below to declare that you're open to his voice, that you're ready for what he's about to reveal. God's been trying to tell you that you're not stuck. The weight you're carrying, the doubts, the fears, the exhaustion, it's not your permanent address. It's just a season, and seasons always change. Think about a seed buried in the dirt. It's dark, it's heavy, it's suffocating. But that seed isn't meant to stay buried forever. God's been watering you this week, even when you couldn't see it. Every tear, every prayer, every moment you kept going, despite the pain that was his hand, preparing the soil of your life for something new to bloom. You're on the verge of breaking through, and the growth that's coming will be undeniable. Picture a river cutting through a mountain. It doesn't force its way through with violence. It flows steady and patient, carving a path over time. That's how God's been working in you. All week, he's been guiding you, shaping you, moving obstacles you didn't even know were in your way. The delays you faced, they weren't denials, they were divine detours, steering you away from paths that weren't meant for you. The moments you felt alone, those were the times God was closest, whispering, "I'm here, and I've got something greater waiting." Your life is a river, chosen one, and God is directing its flow toward a future filled with purpose. This message is stirring something in you, isn't it? That's God's voice, confirming you're exactly where you're meant to be. If your heart is racing, if your spirit feels alive, take a second to type 777 inches the comments. Let the universe know you're claiming this moment, that you're ready to hear what God's been trying to tell you. And if you're feeling called to join thousands of other chosen ones walking this path, hit that subscribe button. Be part of a community that's standing in faith, ready for the miracles God is unleashing. Now, let's talk about why this week felt so heavy. God's been trying to reach you because he's preparing you for a shift that's bigger than anything you've experienced before. Think about a caterpillar in its cocoon. It's not just sitting there, it's transforming, breaking down, becoming something entirely new. That's you right now. The struggles of this week were the cocoon, pressing you, reshaping you, getting you ready to spread your wings. God's not breaking you down. He's building you up into a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and radiant with His light. You might be wondering, why now? Why has God been so persistent this week? Because this is your appointed time. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." This is your season, chosen one. God's been clearing the way, removing distractions, aligning people and opportunities to meet you exactly where you are. That argument you had, it was God teaching you to stand firm in your truth. That financial stress, it was God showing you that His provision is greater than your need. Every moment this week was a step toward your divine calling. Close your eyes for a second and imagine a door in front of you. It's not locked, it's cracked open, with light pouring through the edges. That's the door God's been leading you to all week. Behind it is everything He's promised. Peace that surpasses understanding, abundance that overflows, purpose that sets your soul on fire. You don't need to force it open. You just need to walk through. God's been whispering, "Step forward, I've already made the way." The signs you've seen, the number 777 showing up, the sudden clarity in your heart, they're all invitations to trust Him and take that step. Your spirit knows this is true, doesn't it? You're feeling the weight of this moment, the power of God's call on your life. Type 777 in the comments one more time to seal this truth. To say, "God, I hear you, and I'm ready." This isn't just a video, it's a turning point. You're not the same person you were when you clicked play. God's been trying to reach you, and now you're listening. His message is clear. You are chosen, you are seen, and you are about to step into a life that reflects His glory. Let's go deeper. God's been speaking to you through your challenges this week because He's forging something unshakable in you. Think about a diamond. It starts as raw carbon, buried deep, under pressure so intense it could crush anything less. But that pressure doesn't destroy it. It transforms it into something brilliant, something that shines even in the darkest places. That's what God's doing with you. The weight of this week wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to reveal the brilliance He's placed inside you. You're becoming a diamond, chosen one, and the world is about to see your light. You might have felt overlooked this week, like your efforts didn't matter, like your prayers were hitting a ceiling. But God sees every step you take. He sees the quiet sacrifices, the moments you chose faith over fear, the times you kept going when you wanted to give up. Psalm 139:16 says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." God's been watching you, writing your story, and this week was a chapter of preparation. He's been calling you to trust that His plan is unfolding even when you can't see the full picture. Think about Noah, building the ark while everyone laughed. He didn't have all the answers, but he heard God's voice and obeyed. Every hammer strike, every plank he laid, was an act of faith in a promise no one else could see. That's you right now, chosen one. God's been asking you to build something, a dream, a hope, a new version of yourself, even when others don't understand. The signs you've seen this week, the whispers in your heart, they're God saying, "Keep going. I'm with you, and the flood is coming not to destroy, but to carry you to new shores." Your breakthrough is closer than you think. God's been trying to reach you because He's setting the stage for something miraculous. Picture a sunrise after a long, dark night. The first rays of light don't just break the darkness, they transform it, painting the sky with colors you didn't know were possible. That's what's happening in your life. The darkness of this week was just the prelude to a dawn that's about to break. God's been preparing you, aligning circumstances, moving mountains you didn't even know were there. Your job is to keep listening, to keep trusting, to keep walking toward the light. If this is resonating, if you feel God's presence stirring in you, type 777 inches, the comments one last time. Let it be your declaration that you're ready for the breakthrough He's been promising. And if you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with thousands of other chosen ones, hit that subscribe button. Join a community that's hearing God's voice and stepping into His promises together. You're not alone in this. God's calling you, and so are we. Now, let's talk about the resistance you've faced. Maybe this week someone doubted you, or you doubted yourself. Maybe you felt like you were fighting an uphill battle, like every step forward came with a pushback. That's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're moving closer to God's purpose. The enemy always pushes hardest when you're on the verge of something great. Think about David facing Goliath. Everyone told him he was too small, too young, too unprepared. But God wasn't looking at his size, He was looking at his heart. And this week, God's been looking at yours. Every time you chose to keep going, you were slinging a stone at your giants. Every prayer you whispered, every moment you refused to give up, was a victory in the Spirit. God's been watching, and He's been pleased. The resistance you felt wasn't a wall, it was a doorway. Each challenge was God saying, I'm strengthening you, preparing you, making you ready for what's next. You're not just surviving this week, you're being shaped into a warrior, a leader, a light that no darkness can extinguish. Imagine a potter at his wheel. The clay doesn't choose its shape, it trusts the hands that mold it. This week, God's been the potter and you've been the clay. Every spin of the wheel, every press of His hands has been intentional. He's shaping you into something beautiful, something that holds His glory. The pressure you felt, that was His hands refining you. The moments of doubt, those were the times He was smoothing out the rough edges. You're not being broken, you're being made into a vessel for His purpose. God's message to you this week is that you're stronger than you know. You've been through fire, but you haven't been burned. You've walked through storms, but you haven't been swept away. Isaiah 43:2 says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. That's God's promise to you, chosen one. This week was a passage, not a prison. And on the other side is a life filled with His abundance, His peace, His power. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way this week wasn't random, the way every moment was leading you here. God's been trying to reach you because He's ready to unveil something new in your life. Picture a curtain being pulled back on a stage. The audience is waiting, the lights are dim, and then suddenly the spotlight hits you. That's what God's doing. He's pulling back the curtain on His plan for you. And this week was the final rehearsal. You're about to step into the spotlight of His purpose, and the world will see what He's been building in you. Let's talk about the dreams you've been carrying. Maybe this week you felt them slip, like they were too big, too far away. But God's been whispering to you through those dreams. They're not just wishes, they're blueprints of your destiny. Think about Joseph, sold into slavery, thrown into prison, forgotten by those he helped. Yet every step of his journey was part of God's plan to place him in a position of power. Your dreams, chosen one, are God's way of showing you where He's taking you. This week, He's been reminding you not to let go. Every time you felt discouraged, God was saying, hold on. Every time you doubted, He was saying, trust me. Your dreams aren't too big. They're exactly the size God intends them to be. He's been using this week to test your faith, to see if you'll keep believing even when the path is unclear. And you have. You're still here, still listening, still ready to hear His voice. That's why He's been so persistent, because your dreams are His promises, and He never breaks a promise. Imagine a lighthouse standing firm in a storm. Waves crash, winds howl, but it doesn't move. Its light cuts through the darkness, guiding ships to safety. That's you, chosen one. This week's storms were real, but so is your light. God's been using every challenge to anchor you deeper, to make your foundation unshakable. The world needs your light, and God's been preparing you to shine brighter than ever. Your purpose isn't just for you, it's for everyone who's lost in the storm, looking for hope. You might have felt like this week was a battle, but it was really a birthing. Something new is coming alive in you. Think about a mother in labor. Those final moments are the hardest, the most intense, but they lead to new life. That's where you are right now. The pain, the pressure, the uncertainty. They're all signs that something miraculous is about to be born. God's been trying to reach you because He's the one delivering this new beginning, and He wants you to be ready to receive it. Let's talk about the people around you this week. Maybe someone spoke life into you, or maybe someone tried to tear you down. Both were part of God's plan. The encouragement was His voice saying, I see you. The criticism was His way of teaching you to stand tall in your truth. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Every interaction this week was God sharpening you, making you stronger, preparing you for the calling that's unfolding. You're not meant to shrink, you're meant to rise. You're feeling the shift now, aren't you? The way God's voice is becoming clearer, the way His plan is starting to take shape. This week wasn't about breaking you, it was about breaking through. Every moment was a step toward the life He's promised. Picture a puzzle coming together, piece by piece. You might not see the full picture yet, but every piece fits perfectly in His hands. God's been trying to reach you because He's placing the final pieces, and soon you'll see the masterpiece He's been creating. Let's talk about the fear you might have felt this week. Maybe it was fear of failure, fear of the unknown, or fear that you're not enough. God's been whispering through that fear, saying, I'm bigger than all of it. Fear is just a shadow, and shadows only exist where there's light. Your light, chosen one, is stronger than any fear you face. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. This week, God's been reminding you of your power, your love, your clarity. Think about Moses at the Red Sea. The enemy was behind him, the sea was in front, and fear was all around. But God didn't tell him to fight or run. He told him to stand still and see His salvation. That's what God's been saying to you this week. Stand still, chosen one. I'm about to part the sea. The obstacles in your path, the fears in your heart, they're no match for His power. He's been trying to reach you to remind you that He's already fighting your battles. You're not alone in this, chosen one. God's been with you every step of this week, and so are thousands of others who are hearing His call. If you want to join a community of souls standing in faith, hit that subscribe button. Be part of something bigger, a movement of chosen ones ready to step into God's promises. And if this message is speaking to your heart, let's keep moving forward together, trusting that God's voice is leading us to something extraordinary. Now, Let's talk about the moments of peace you felt this week. Maybe it was a quiet second when everything felt right, or a sudden calm in the middle of chaos. Those weren't random, they were God's hand on your shoulder, saying, "I've got you." Those moments are proof that He's been near, guiding you, speaking to you, even when the world felt loud. John 16:33 says, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." God's been reminding you that your peace doesn't come from the world, it comes from Him. Think about a tree standing through a storm. Its roots go deep, holding it steady while the winds rage. That's you right now, chosen one. This week's storms were loud, but your roots in God's truth are deeper. Every challenge was a chance to sink those roots further, to grow stronger in His love. God's been trying to reach you to show you that your foundation is unshakable, that no storm can uproot what He's planted. You might have felt like this week was a test, and it was, but not the kind you think. God wasn't testing you to see if you'd fail. He was testing you to show you your strength. Every time you chose faith over doubt, love over anger, hope over despair, you passed. You proved to yourself and to the world that you're a chosen one, marked by God's hand, destined for greatness. He's been calling you to see what He already knows. You're ready for what's next. Picture a runner at the starting line, heart pounding, muscles tense, waiting for the signal. That's where you are right now. This week was the moment before the race begins, when God was preparing your heart, aligning your spirit, getting you ready to run toward His purpose. The signs, the whispers, the challenges, they were all part of His signal saying, "Get ready, chosen one. Your race is about to start." And when you run, you'll run with His strength, His speed, His victory. You're starting to feel it, aren't you? The way this week was leading you to something bigger, something divine. God's been trying to reach you because He's ready to launch you into a new season. Think about an eagle soaring above the storm. While the winds rage below, it rises higher, untouched by the chaos. That's you, chosen one. God's been lifting you this week, preparing you to soar above the storms of life, to see His plan from a higher perspective. Let's talk about the doubts that crept in this week. Maybe you wondered if you're truly chosen, if God's really speaking to you. Those doubts aren't your enemy, they're your invitation to trust deeper. Even Jesus faced doubts in the wilderness, tempted to question His purpose. But He stood firm, and so have you. Every time you pushed through doubt this week, you were saying, "God, I trust you." And He's been saying back, "I've chosen you, and I'm not letting go." Imagine a garden in spring. The ground looks barren, but beneath the surface, life is stirring. That's what God's been doing in you this week. The moments that felt empty, the times you felt stuck, they were just the surface. Underneath, God's been planting seeds of faith, hope, and purpose. He's been watering them with His presence, and soon you'll see the first sprouts of His promises breaking through. You've been carrying a weight this week, haven't you? Maybe it's a burden you can't quite name, a heaviness that lingers. But God's been trying to reach you to say, "Give it to me." Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This week, every struggle was an invitation to lay your burdens at His feet, to let Him carry what you were never meant to hold alone. Your rest is coming, chosen one, because God's been fighting for you. Think about a sculptor chiseling stone. Every strike of the hammer looks violent, but it's purposeful. Each chip reveals more of the masterpiece hidden inside. That's what God's been doing this week, chiseling away the parts of you that don't belong, revealing the masterpiece He created you to be. The pressure, the pain, the uncertainty, they were all his tools, shaping you into a reflection of his glory. You're not the same person you were at the start of this week. God's been working in you, speaking to you, preparing you for something greater. Picture a phoenix rising from ashes. The fire was real, but so is the rebirth. This week's challenges were the flames, but now you're rising, stronger, brighter, ready to soar. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to show the world who you are, a chosen one, marked by his love, destined to shine. Let's talk about the moments you felt lost this week. Maybe you didn't know which way to turn, or the path ahead seemed too dark. But God's been your compass, guiding you even when you couldn't see. Psalm 119-105 says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." Every sign, every whisper, every nudge this week was his light, showing you the way. You're not lost, chosen one, you're being led. You might have felt like giving up at some point this week. The weight was heavy, the road was long, and the end seemed out of reach. But God's been trying to reach you to say, "I'm your strength." Think about Elijah, exhausted and alone, ready to quit. God didn't leave him there. He sent an angel, food, and a new mission. That's what he's doing for you. This week's weariness was real, but so is his strength, renewing you for the journey ahead. Imagine a bridge spanning a wide river. This week, you've been walking across it, one step at a time, not sure what's on the other side. But God's been the architect, building that bridge with every prayer, every act of faith, every moment you chose to trust him. You're almost there, chosen one. The signs you've seen, the whispers you've heard, they're God saying, "Keep walking. The other side is closer than you think." You're starting to see the bigger picture now, aren't you? This week wasn't just a string of random moments, it was a divine setup. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to unveil his plan. Think about Esther, stepping into the king's court, not knowing if she'd live or die. Every moment before that was preparation, and so was every moment of your week. God's been positioning you, chosen one, for a purpose that will change lives, starting with your own. Let's talk about the hope that flickered in you this week. Maybe it was small, like a candle in the wind, but it didn't go out. That hope was God's voice, whispering, "I'm not done with you." Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." That flicker is about to become a flame, chosen one, because God's been fanning it all week, preparing you for a breakthrough. You might have felt like you were fighting alone this week, but you weren't. God's been your shield, your strength, your guide. Think about Daniel in the lion's den. The world saw a man doomed to die, but God saw a chosen one destined to shine. Every challenge this week was a lion, but God's been shutting their mouths, protecting you, preparing you to walk out unharmed. His voice has been clear. You're his, and nothing can touch you. Picture a tapestry being woven, thread by thread. This week, every moment was a thread, some dark, some bright, but all necessary. God's been the weaver, crafting something beautiful from your struggles and your faith. You can't see the full design yet, but trust this, it's a masterpiece. He's been trying to reach you to say, "I'm not finished. Keep trusting me, and you'll see what I'm creating." You've been through a lot this week, haven't you? But here's the truth. Every step was leading you closer to God's purpose. Think about a ship in a storm, tossed by waves but still on course. That's you, chosen one. The waves were real, but so is the captain steering you. God's been trying to reach you to remind you that he's at the helm, guiding you to a harbor of peace, purpose, and power. Let's talk about the moments you felt unseen this week. Maybe you poured out your heart, worked hard, loved deeply, and it felt like no one noticed. But God saw. He's been watching, collecting every tear, celebrating every effort. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." This week, every unseen moment was recorded in his book, and he's been whispering, "I see you, chosen one, and I'm proud." You're starting to feel his presence stronger now, aren't you? The way his voice is cutting through the noise, the way his plan is becoming clearer. This week was a divine classroom, and God's been your teacher, showing you who you are. Every lesson, every challenge was him saying, "You're stronger than you know. You're chosen for something great. You're not just surviving, you're stepping into a life that reflects his glory, his love, his power." Imagine a key turning in a lock. This week, God's been handing you keys to freedom, to purpose, to abundance. Every sign you noticed, every whisper you heard, was a key unlocking a new door. You don't have to force your way through. You just have to turn the key and walk in. God's been trying to reach you to say, "The doors are open, chosen one. Step through with faith and watch what I do next." You might have felt like this week was a wilderness, but it was really a garden. God's been planting seeds in you, seeds of faith, courage, and vision. The moments that felt barren were just the ground being prepared. He's been watering you with his presence, and soon you'll see the harvest. John 12:24 says, "Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds." This week's struggles were the dying. The harvest is coming. You're not the same person you were 7 days ago. God's been reshaping you, speaking to you, preparing you for what's next. Think about a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. The struggle to break free is what strengthens its wings. This week's battles were your cocoon, chosen one, and God's been strengthening you for flight. He's been trying to reach you to say, "You're ready to soar, trust me, and let's take off together." Let's talk about the moments you felt small this week. Maybe someone's words cut deep, or your own doubts made you feel less than. But God's been whispering, "You're enough." You're not small in his eyes, you're a giant, a chosen one, destined to move mountains. Matthew 17:20 says, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." Your faith this week, no matter how small it felt, was enough for God to work miracles. Picture a star in the daytime sky. You can't always see it, but it's there, shining just as brightly. That's you, chosen one. This week, you might have felt hidden, but God's been seeing your light. He's been trying to reach you to say, "Your time to shine is coming. The world will see what I've always seen." Every challenge was him polishing your light, getting you ready to illuminate the darkness around you. You've been carrying a dream in your heart, haven't you? This week, it might have felt like that dream was slipping away. But God's been using every moment to refine it, to make it stronger. Think about Abraham, waiting years for a promise that seemed impossible. Every step of his journey was God saying, "I'm faithful." This week, every delay, every doubt, was God saying the same to you. "I'm faithful, chosen one. Your dream is my promise, and I don't break promises." Let's talk about the moments you felt his presence this week. Maybe it was a quiet second when you felt peace, or a moment when a scripture came alive in your heart. Those were God's fingerprints, marking you as his own. He's been trying to reach you to say, I'm closer than you think. Psalm 145:18 says, "The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth." Every time you called out, he was there, answering, guiding, loving you through it all. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way this week was a divine setup, a preparation for something greater. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to move you into a new season. Picture a river breaking through a dam. The pressure builds, the cracks form, and then freedom. That's where you are right now, chosen one. The pressure of this week was the crack, and God's about to unleash a flood of blessings, purpose, and power in your life. You might have felt like you were wandering this week, but you were never lost. God's been your guide, leading you through every twist and turn. Think about the Israelites in the desert. They didn't see the promised land right away, but every step was part of God's plan. This week's wilderness was your journey, chosen one, and God's been saying, "I'm leading you to a land flowing with milk and honey. Keep walking, and you'll see." Let's talk about the moments you felt overwhelmed. Maybe the weight of responsibilities, fears, or expectations felt too much. But God's been whispering, "I'm your strength." Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." Every moment you felt weak was God inviting you to lean on him, to let his power flow through you. You're not carrying this alone. He's been carrying you all week. Imagine a seed breaking through the soil. It's a struggle, a fight to reach the surface, but that struggle is what makes it strong. That's you this week, chosen one. Every battle, every tear was you breaking through, reaching for the light. God's been trying to reach you to say, "You're almost there. Keep pushing, and you'll see the Sunday." Your breakthrough is closer than you think, and it's going to be more beautiful than you can imagine. You're not just surviving this week, you're being transformed. God's been reshaping your heart, your mind, your spirit. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword. The fire is hot, the hammer is heavy, but every strike makes the blade stronger. This week's trials were the fire and the hammer, chosen one, and God's been forging you into a weapon for his kingdom. He's been saying, "You're stronger than you know, and I'm with you." Let's talk about the moments you felt hope this week. Even if it was fleeting, that hope wasn't an accident, it was God's voice, reminding you of his promises. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Every spark of hope was God saying, "I'm working, even when you can't see it." This week, he's been building your faith, preparing you to receive what's coming. You might have felt like this week was a storm, but it was really a cleansing. God's been washing away the doubts, the fears, the things that don't belong in your life. Picture a rainstorm clearing the air, leaving everything fresh and new. That's what he's been doing, clearing the way for a new season. He's been trying to reach you to say, "The storm is passing, chosen one. Get ready for clear skies and new beginnings." You're starting to feel his call stronger now, aren't you? The way this week was leading you to this moment, this message. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to unveil his plan. Think about a book opening to a new chapter. The pages before were real, but this chapter is different. It's where the story takes off. This week was the turning of the page, chosen one, and God's about to write something extraordinary in your life. Let's talk about the people who crossed your path this week. Maybe someone spoke a word that lifted you, or maybe someone challenged you in a way that made you stronger. Both were God's messengers, sent to prepare you. Proverbs 16:24 says, "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." Every kind word, every tough moment, Was God speaking through others, shaping you, guiding you, calling you closer to Him? You might have felt like this week was a test of your patience, but it was really a test of your faith. God's been asking, will you trust me, even when it's hard? Think about Job, who lost everything but held on to his faith. Every loss, every trial, was God preparing him for a double portion of blessings. This week, every moment of waiting was God preparing you for a double portion. Chosen one, He's been saying, hold on, I'm about to show you my faithfulness. Imagine a door being unlocked, not with a key, but with your faith. This week, every act of trust, every prayer, every step forward was you turning the lock. God's been trying to reach you to say, the door is open, walk through and see what I've prepared. Your faith is the key, and it's stronger than you realize. You're not just hoping for a breakthrough, you're stepping into it, because God's been paving the way all week. You're not the same person you were at the start of this week. God's been working in you, speaking to you, transforming you. Picture a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, not just changing, but becoming something entirely new. That's you, chosen one. This week's struggles were the cocoon, and God's been preparing you to fly. He's been trying to reach you to say, your wings are ready. Trust me and soar into what's next. Let's talk about the moments you felt His love this week. Maybe it was a quiet assurance in your heart, or a moment when you knew you weren't alone. That was God, wrapping you in His arms, saying, you're mine. 1 John 4:16 says, God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. Every spark of love you felt this week was Him, reminding you that you're chosen, cherished, and called to something greater. You might have felt like this week was a battle against the odds, but it was really a battle already won. God's been fighting for you, clearing the way, making a path where there seemed to be none. Think about David facing Goliath again, not with fear, but with faith, knowing God had already given him the victory. This week, every giant you faced was already defeated, because God's been with you, whispering, I've got this, chosen one, trust me. Imagine a sunrise breaking over the horizon, chasing away the night. That's what God's been doing in you this week, chasing away the darkness, bringing His light. Every struggle was a shadow, but His light is stronger. He's been trying to reach you to say, the night is over, your dawn is here. You're stepping into a new day, chosen one, filled with His promises, His peace, His purpose. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way this week was a divine orchestration, every moment leading you to this truth. God's been trying to reach you because He's ready to move you into a season of overflow. Picture a cup running over, spilling blessings everywhere. That's what's coming. Abundance, joy, purpose that can't be contained. He's been preparing you all week, and now it's time to receive. Let's talk about the moments you felt His guidance this week. Maybe it was a gut feeling to take a different path, or a scripture that jumped off the page. That was God directing your steps. Proverbs 3:6 says, in all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Every nudge, every whisper was Him straightening your path, leading you to this moment, this message, this calling. You might have felt like this week was a maze, but it was really a map. God's been drawing the lines, guiding you through every turn. Think about the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, impossible, until God made a way. This week's challenges were your Red Sea, and God's been parting the waters, saying, follow me, chosen one. I'm leading you to freedom. You're not just surviving this week, you're thriving in God's plan. Every moment was Him shaping you, calling you, preparing you for something extraordinary. Picture a symphony. every note building to a crescendo. This week was the build-up, and God's about to bring the music to life. He's been trying to reach you to say, "You're ready for the masterpiece I'm composing in your life." Let's talk about the moments you felt his strength this week. Maybe it was a second when you pushed through exhaustion, or a time you stood up when you wanted to fall. That was God, filling you with his power. Isaiah 40:29 says, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak." Every ounce of strength you found this week was him saying, "I'm in you, chosen one, and I'm unstoppable." You might have felt like this week was a climb, but it was really a launch. God's been preparing you to take off, to rise above the challenges, to soar into his purpose. Think about an eagle, waiting for the right wind to lift it higher. This week's struggles were the wind, and God's been saying, "Spread your wings, chosen one. I'm lifting you to new heights." You're starting to feel his plan unfolding, aren't you? The way this week was a divine setup, every moment a step toward his promises. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to show you what's next. Picture a door swinging wide open, light flooding in. That's where you are right now, on the threshold of something new, something powerful, something God has been planning all along. Let's talk about the moments you felt his peace this week. Maybe it was a fleeting second when everything felt right, or a moment when the chaos quieted. That was God, wrapping you in his calm, saying, "I'm here." John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." Every moment of peace was him, reminding you that he's in control, that he's been guiding you all week. You might have felt like this week was a storm, but it was really a refining fire. God's been burning away what doesn't belong, leaving only what's true, what's strong, what's his. Think about gold in a furnace. The heat is intense, but it purifies. This week's trials were your furnace, chosen one, and God's been saying, "You're coming out pure, ready to shine for me." You're not the same person you were at the start of this week. God's been reshaping you, speaking to you, preparing you for a new season. Picture a tree in spring, budding with new life. This week's challenges were the pruning, and God's been saying, "You're ready to bloom." He's been trying to reach you because your time to flourish is now, and the world is about to see his glory in you. Let's talk about the moments you felt his call this week. Maybe it was a dream that felt too vivid, or a moment when your heart burned with purpose. That was God, stirring your spirit, saying, "You're mine, and I have work for you to do." Jeremiah 1-5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Every sign this week was him reminding you of your calling, your purpose, your destiny. You might have felt like this week was a struggle, but it was really a setup. God's been positioning you, aligning you, preparing you for something greater. Think about a chessboard, every move planned by a master. This week's challenges were his moves, setting you up for victory. He's been trying to reach you to say, "The game is won, chosen one. Step into my plan and watch what I do." You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way this week was a divine orchestration, every moment leading you to this truth. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to launch you into a season of breakthrough. Picture a rocket ready to break through the atmosphere. This week's pressure was the fuel, and God's been saying, "You're ready to soar, chosen one. Trust me, and let's go." Let's talk about the moments you felt his presence this week. Maybe it was a quiet second when you knew he was near, or a moment when a prayer felt answered. That was God, walking with you, speaking to you, guiding you. Psalm 23:4 says, Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Every step this week was with him, and he's been saying, I'm right here, chosen one, leading you to something new. You might have felt like this week was a test, but it was really a testimony. Every challenge was God building a story in you, a story of faith, resilience, and victory. Think about Paul and Silas singing in prison. Their chains were real, but so was their worship. This week's struggles were your chains, and your faith was your song. God's been trying to reach you to say, your worship is breaking the chains, and freedom is coming. You're not just surviving this week, you're stepping into God's purpose. Picture a seed breaking through the ground, reaching for the Sunday. This week's darkness was the soil, and God's been nurturing you, saying, you're ready to grow. He's been trying to reach you because your time to rise is now, and the harvest he's promised is about to bloom in your life. Let's talk about the moments you felt his love this week. Maybe it was a kind word from a friend, or a moment when your heart felt full. That was God pouring his love into you, saying, you're enough. Zephaniah 3:17 says, the Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. Every spark of love was him, reminding you that you're chosen, cherished, and called to greatness. You might have felt like this week was a storm, but it was really a launch pad. God's been preparing you to take off, to rise above the challenges, to soar into his purpose. Think about an airplane gaining speed on the runway. This week's struggles were the runway, and God's been saying, you're ready to fly, chosen one. Trust me, and let's take off. Your breakthrough is coming, and it's going to be higher than you ever imagined. You're starting to feel his plan unfolding, aren't you? The way this week was a divine setup, every moment leading you to this moment. God's been trying to reach you because he's ready to show you what's next. Picture a curtain being pulled back, revealing a stage set just for you. This week was the preparation, and God's been saying, the spotlight is yours, chosen one. Step into my purpose and shine. Let's talk about the moments you felt his strength this week. Maybe it was a second when you pushed through fear, or a time you stood tall when you wanted to shrink. That was God filling you with his power, saying, I'm in you. Nehemiah 8:10 says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Every moment of strength was him, reminding you that you're not fighting alone. He's your warrior, your shield, your victory. You might have felt like this week was a battle, but it was really a birthing. God's been bringing something new to life in you, a new dream, a new purpose, a new you. Think about a mother giving birth. The pain is real, but so is the joy that follows. This week's pain was real, but God's been saying, the joy is coming, chosen one. Keep pushing, and you'll see what I've birthed in you. You're not the same person you were at the start of this week. God's been reshaping you, speaking to you, preparing you for a new season. Picture a phoenix rising from the ashes, stronger, brighter, ready to soar. This week's ashes were real, but so is your rebirth. God's been trying to reach you to say, you're ready, chosen one. Rise, and let the world see my glory in you. Let's talk about the moments you felt his guidance this week. Maybe it was a nudge to make a decision, or a moment when a path became clear. That was God directing your steps, saying, I'm leading you. Proverbs 16:9 says, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Every nudge was him guiding you to this moment, this message, this calling. You might have felt like this week was a wilderness, but it was really a pathway God's been leading you through. preparing you for what's next. Think about Moses leading the Israelites through the desert. Every step was uncertain, but every step was God's plan. This week's wilderness was your journey, and God's been saying, I'm leading you to the promised land. Chosen one, keep following me. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way this week was a divine orchestration, every moment leading you to this truth. God's been trying to reach you because He's ready to launch you into a season of abundance. Picture a river, flowing stronger, wider, deeper. This week's struggles were the banks, and God's been saying, you're the river, chosen one. Flow into my promises and watch what I do. Let's talk about the moments you felt His peace this week. Maybe it was a quiet second when the world felt still, or a moment when your heart rested. That was God wrapping you in His calm, saying, I've got you. Philippians 4:7 says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Every moment of peace was Him, guarding you, guiding you, calling you closer. You might have felt like this week was a storm, but it was really a cleansing. God's been washing away the doubts, the fears, the things that don't belong. Picture a rainstorm clearing the air, leaving everything fresh. This week's storms were real, but God's been saying, I'm making you new, chosen one. Get ready for a fresh start. You're not just surviving this week, you're stepping into God's purpose. Think about a seed breaking through the soil, reaching for the Sunday. This week's darkness was the soil, and God's been nurturing you, saying, you're ready to grow. He's been trying to reach you because your time to bloom is now, and the world is about to see His glory in you. Let's talk about the moments you felt His call this week. Maybe it was a dream that felt too real, or a moment when your purpose felt clear. That was God stirring your spirit, saying, you're mine. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Every sign was Him, reminding you of your destiny, your calling, your place in His plan. You might have felt like this week was a struggle, but it was really a setup. God's been positioning you, aligning you, preparing you for something extraordinary. Picture a chessboard, every move planned by a master. This week's challenges were His moves, setting you up for victory. He's been trying to reach you to say, the game is won, chosen one. Step into my plan and watch what I do. You're starting to feel His plan unfolding, aren't you? The way this week was a divine setup, every moment leading you to this moment. God's been trying to reach you because He's ready to show you what's next.